So death has again been trying to discourage Savitri's faith. He's been telling her that spirit and matter are irreconcilable. They can never come together. They are opposed, like oil and water. They don't mix. They can't mix. And then he has said, who would turn to God must leave the world, and who would live in the Spirit must give up life. Yeah. And he's telling her that the wise people, the sages, the ones who've really explored the realities of the world, they have found that the only safe harbour, the only safe place is extinction, loss of self, dissolution. So then he turns it to himself. He says, two only are the doors of man's escape. There are only two ways to escape from the labyrinth of life. Death of his body, that is the matter's gate to peace. And death of his soul is his last happiness. In me all take refuge, for I, death, am God. He's claiming to be the supreme power. So I'm going to read on from there, Savitri's answer. But Savitri replied to mighty death, my heart is wiser than thy reason's thoughts. My heart is stronger than thy bonds, O death. It sees and feels the one heart beat in all. It feels the high transcendence, sun-like hands. It sees the cosmic spirit at its work. In the dim night, it lies alone with God. My heart's strength can carry the grief of the universe and never falter from its luminous track. Its white, tremendous orbit through God's peace. It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch, the calm that broods in the deep infinite. He said, art thou indeed so strong, O heart, O soul, so free? And canst thou gather then bright pleasure from my wayside flowering boughs, yet falter not from thy hard journey's goal? Meet the world's dangerous touch and never fall. Show me thy strength and freedom from my laws. But Savitri answered, surely I shall find among the green and whispering woods of life close-bosomed pleasures, only mine since his, or mine for him because our joys are one. And if I linger, time is ours and God's. And if I fall, is not his hand near mine? All is a single plan. Each wayside act deepens the soul's response, brings nearer the goal. Death, the contemptuous nihil, answered her, so prove thy absolute force to the wise gods by choosing earthly joy. For self demand, and yet from self and its gross masks live free. Then will I give thee all thy soul desires, all the brief joys earth keeps for mortal hearts. Only the one dearest wish that outweighs all hard laws forbid, and thy ironic fate. My will once wrought remains unchanged through time, and Shraddhavan can never again be thine. Dana, you will read.
But Savitri replied to my people, my heart is wiser than the reason's thoughts. My heart is stronger than thy bones, O Dev. It sees and feels the one heartbeat in all. It feels the high transcendence sun-like hands. It sees the cosmic spirit at its work. In the dim night, it lies alone with God.
Yes. Savitri is claiming the supremacy of the heart's insight. The heart's insight prompted by the deep soul over reason, which is an abstract power of the mind. It is a kind of light, but Sri Aurobindo tells us that in some ways the insights of the heart are truer and deeper, more reliable than those of the mind. So that is what Savitri is affirming here. Her heart, of course, is pure from the kind of misleading delusions and impulses that make us feel that we can't always rely on our heart's leading. But she says, my heart is wiser than the thoughts of the reason. You are saying it's like this and like that, but my heart tells me something different. And she says, my heart is stronger than your bonds, O death, the limitations that you place on human beings. My heart sees and feels the one heart beat in all. She has the insight to feel the divine presence, the loving divine presence, the one heart that is beating in every form of the universe. She says that her heart not only feels that cosmic heart within the universe, it feels the transcendent, which is beyond the manifestation, those hands which are warm and caressing like sunlight. My heart, she says, can see the universal spirit at its work. And in the dim night, my heart lies alone with God. I'm very, very close to the divine. We'll go on, Suresh.
My heart's strength can carry the grief of the universe and never falter from its luminous track. Its white tendrils orbit through God's peace.
Yes. She says, my heart is so strong that it can carry, it can bear all the grief and suffering of the universe. And that doesn't make it falter. When you falter, you hesitate. You are not sure. She says, my heart is following its luminous track. It's following a path of light. And it's like a kind of star. It's orbiting. It's following its destined track. This it's white, pure and integral, powerful orbit through, what is it moving through? Through God's peace. It's moving always through a state of peace. It's not disturbed or troubled on its way by anything. Berber.
It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch, the calm that breathes in the deep infinite.
So this is a tremendous claim that she's making about the purity and strength of her heart. She says that it can take into itself, it can drink up the sea of all delight, every form of delight that can possibly be. And it can accept all those different forms of delight without ever losing the white spiritual touch, the sense of the pure presence of the divine spirit. No? And it can take all into itself all those different forms of delight without ever losing the calm that is brooding in the deep infinite. People who have dedicated their lives to the spiritual search often feel that they have to avoid certain forms of delight because it distracts them or misleads them from their path. But she's describing a state of such pure illumination, such pure realization, that she says, not only I can bear all the grief of the world, I can enjoy all the delight of the world without losing that pure spiritual touch, without losing the calm, the steady calm of the deep infinite.
So all delight, I think we take all delight, but we confuse with the pleasure.
Maybe even pleasure. A little later on she mentions pleasure. She says, no? So that's such an amazing fulfillment, such an amazing realization to be so grounded in the knowledge and the awareness of the divine presence that One can take all these different kinds of delight without losing the contact.
My Christian's pleasure means like drinking and dancing, whatever.
So you know what that means, no? But there are many different kinds of delight, and true freedom means to be able to enjoy all different kinds of delight without being corrupted or losing the track.
There is in the previous one, never falter from its luminous track.
Yes. It's not faltering in its luminous track because of grief, nor because of pleasure. And he doesn't believe her. Kange, you'll read?
He said, "Art thou indeed so strong, O heart, O soul, so free? And canst thou gather then bright pleasure from my wayside flowering
Boughs.
Yet flatter not from thy heart journey's goal, meet the world's dangerous touch and never fall? Show me thy strength and freedom from my laws."
Yes, he doesn't believe her. Are you really as strong as that, O heart? Are you so free in your soul? Can you really collect, as if you're walking through a beautiful flowering forest, can you gather bright pleasure from my wayside flowering boughs as you're going on your journey? Can you collect and enjoy all the pleasures? And yet not falter, not hesitate on this journey to going towards the goal of your hard journey? Can you meet the dangerous touch of the world? No? Perhaps we're all a bit afraid of the dangerous touch of the world. No? We want to be protected, but can you really meet that and never fall, never lose your purpose, your awareness? You will have to prove that to me, he says. Show me thy strength. If you are so strong, then you are free from my laws. But you'll have to prove it to me. Maurice, you like to read?
But Savitri answered, "Surely I shall find among the green and whispering woods of life close bosomed pleasures, only mine since his, or mine for him, because our joys are one. And if I linger, time is ours and God's, and if I fall, is not his hand near mine?"
Thank you. So this is how she answers him. Surely, as I go through life, I'm going to find all kinds of pleasures on the way. Close bosomed pleasures, even the embrace. But these pleasures I shall enjoy only because they are his. So does she mean Shraddhavan? Or does she mean God? Or does she mean both? And suppose I not exactly falter, but if I linger, if I take time to enjoy those pleasures, isn't time meant for us and for God to take delight in his creation? And in case I fall, isn't his hand close? to save me. You read.
All is a single plan. Each wayside act depends the soul's response. Bring near the goal.
Yes, thank you. So she's saying everything, the grief and the pain and everything that happens, it is all part of this wonderful plan. And everything that happens, and everything that we do, just accidentally, by the side of the way, helps to deepen the response of the soul to the touch of the Lord. It brings us nearer to our goal.
Well, actually, the goal is not the pleasures, the goal is the divine Ananda.
Yes.
So one should not forget that.
Yeah. Yes.
Because she can go to the pleasures, but she does not go to the pleasures because of the pleasures. She goes because this is something the divine is giving, but in all she's constantly concentrating on the all delight. That means delight in itself, not the delight in all.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
I see it like this.
Yes. Thank you, Martin. So it's like that fragment in the first verse of the Isha Upanishad. No? It says all this is a habitation for the Lord. Whatever is moving in this moving universe, by that renounced thou shouldst enjoy. So that's it. That's the secret somehow. We are here to enjoy, but we shouldn't, or if we enjoy it in an egoistic, selfish, self-centered way, we lose the real delight.
Yeah, as you said in Isha Upanishad, you have to renounce everything in the divine. Then you will find the divine bliss.
Then you enjoy it for the divine. Only mine since his.
But then the enjoyment the divine is giving. You are not taking it
Yes.
by yourself.
Living thus, doing thus works in the world, being active in the world like that, you should wish to live 100 years. Thus it is in thee, not otherwise than this. Action cleaves not to a man. If we could live like that, there would be no karmic consequences of our action. So this is what Savitri is showing, that she has this deepest knowledge. And he has to respond to that. Yes, Ton.
Thank you. I have a question about line 548. All is a single plan. If I understood you well, and what Martin said, it's meaning here, all is part of a single plan. And when I was reading it, when I heard it reading, I was thinking, everything, every part, has its own plan.
It's also true. It's also true, no? Everything is part of this one plan. And everything's moving in that way, everything is moving in one direction. So that's why it doesn't matter, in a sense, how long it takes. And whether we falter or linger on the way or not. And then there's this amazingly moving line, which I can't read anymore. You can read it, Tom. And if I fall?
And if I fall, is not his hand near mine?
This line is the protection against the Puritan God, the falsehood of the Puritan God. You'll read?
This the contentious nihil answered her. So prove thy absolute force to thy wise gods by choosing earthly joy for self-demand, and yet from self and its growth must live free.
Yeah, he's quite contemptuously saying, so this is the way you show, no, how strong you are. By choosing earthly joys, you're choosing to get Satyavan back for your earthly passion. No? You're demanding for yourself, but you're claiming to live free from self and its gross disguises. And in a contemptuous way, he tells her, so I will give you everything, Sarojini.
Then will I give thee all thy soul desires, all the brief joy earth keep for mortal heart. Only the one dearest which that outwings all. A heart loves brief forbid and thy iron fate. My will once wrought remains unchanged through time, and Shraddhavan can never again be thin.
Thine. Yours. No? Thine. So, all right, I will give you everything you want. Whatever brief joys heaven allows to mortal hearts, to beings who are under the domination of death. But only one wish I can't give you. I know that's the wish that's most important to you, that weighs more than all the others. But there are laws that forbid that. And your fate, which seems to have some irony in it, there seems to be some strange, contradictory humor in your fate. My will once wrought, once I've decided something, it can't be changed in time. And Satyavan can never again be thine. It's decided. He's dead. That's the end of it. You can't take him back, however much you want. You like to read, Mum?
But Savitri replied to the vague power, if the eyes of darkness can look straight to truth, look in my heart, and knowing what I am, give what thou wilt or what thou must for death. Nothing I claim but Satyavan alone.
She refuses to ask him anything. She says, look at me, what I am. You represent darkness. If your eyes of darkness can look straight at truth, look in my heart and know what I am. And then give whatever you like or whatever you have to. I am not claiming anything except Satyavan. So she's quite contemptuous too. She challenges him. Give what thou wilt, whatever you like, or what you must. Tone.
There was a hush, as if of doubtful face, as one disdainful still, who yields the point. Death bowed his sovereign head in cold assent. I give to thee, saved from death and poignant fate, whatever once the living Shraddhavan desired in his heart for solitude.
So this is what he's going to give her. First there's a hush. It's a dramatic hush. We don't know what will happen now. As if of doubtful fates. What way is destiny going to go now? And then, like somebody who has to yield a point, he has to admit that she is right and concede something to her, but still he's not giving way from his position. He says, as one disdainful still, he still is contemptuous about human beings and the things that they want. But still, he has to yield a point, he has to concede something to her. So he bows his head in cold assent, agreement. And he tells her, I'm going to give you whatever once the living Shraddhavan desired in his heart for Savitri. This is not her wish, it is Shraddhavan's wish. And that can be saved from death and poignant fate, sad fate. So what is he going to give her? Very crucial point now. Will you read? Yes.
Bright noons, I give thee unbounded downs, daughters of thy own shape in heart and mind. Fair hero, sons and sweetness undisturbed, of union with thy husband dear and true.
Thank you. So this is quite something, no, that he has to give her. Bright noons, unwounded dawns, without any suffering. No? I'm going to give you happiness throughout life. And I'm going to give you daughters who are just like you, in your heart, in your mind. And I'm going to give you sons, handsome hero sons. And I'm going to give you undisturbed sweetness of union with thy husband, dear and true. And then even more than that he's going to give. Bomb.
And thou shalt carriest in thy joyful house, Carestia of thy along its age. Lord shall find thy teeming gathered heart.
Harvesting, it's when you gather in the fruits. So in your house which is full of joy, you are going to gather in the felicity, the happiness of the evening of your life, the evening years of your life. You'll be surrounded by those beautiful, loving daughters and those fair hero sons and that sweetness of union with your husband. You will not be lonely in your old age, because love will be through you connecting together many gathered hearts gathered in that family, in that home. Mosumi?
The opposite sweetness in thy days shall meet, of tender service to thy life's desire, and loving empire over all thy loved. Two poles of bliss made one, O Savitri. Return, O child, to thy forsaken earth.
Thank you. Yes. The opposite sweetness. You will enjoy two poles of happiness meeting in your days. The joy of service to all those that you love, thy life's desired, the one that you have wished for, and at the same time, that is service. That's a wonderful kind of joy, to serve those that you worship and love. And at the same time, loving empire over all thy loved. You will be ruling and guiding them. These are two poles, two opposite extremes of bliss, which can come together in a loving family. So he says, now I've given you all that. Now you go back to the earth. You have left the earth. Now please go back to it, to thy forsaken earth. It's waiting for you. You'll read, sir?
The Savitri replied, thy gifts resist. Art cannot flower if lonely I retire.
Yes. So, my goodness. She says, how can I do that? How can I return to earth? You've given me these gifts, but the very gifts that you've given me prevent me from going back. All these gifts you've given to me, they can only happen if I take Shraddhavan with me. Earth cannot flower. All this, what you have promised, it can't come true if I go back alone. So death had sounded quite tender, no? Return, O child, to thy forsaken earth. But now again he's furious. Joel.
Then death sent forth one more his angry cry, as chides a lion is escaping prey. What comes thou?
What knowest?
Knowest thou of earth's rich and changing life? Who thinkst that one man dead, all joy must cease?
Yes. So he tells her, do you think Shraddhavan is the only man that you can love? And he roars it out with his angry cry, like a lion. When the prey is escaping, the lion gives a roar, a very specially angry roar. So he is angry. What do you know about earth's rich and changing life? You think that because one man has died, you can't be happy ever again? Josie.
Hope not to be unhappy till the end, for grief dies soon in the tired human heart. Soon other guests the empty chambers fill.
Yes, that's the trouble. Grief dies soon in the human heart. You will soon welcome somebody into your empty rooms, no? Don't think, he says, hope not. Don't expect to be unhappy till the end. Grief dies soon. The human heart gets tired. Sergei.
A transient painting on the holiday's floor, traced for a moment's beauty. Love was made. Or if a voyager on the eternal trail, its objects flow and change in its embrace. like waves to a swimmer upon infinite seas.
Yes. Love is like one of those paintings we make on the floor on festivals. I think it's an art, especially in Bengal they do it, but also here, of course, we do columns and things like that. That on special days the ladies will make a beautiful painting to decorate the floor of the house. So, but those paintings, they don't last long. They're soon finished. So that's what love is like. Love was made like that, for a short-lived decoration on a special day. It's traced there for a moment's beauty, for a short time. Or, if in fact love is a traveler always traveling on an eternal trail, its objects change. The love may remain the same, the love may be eternal, but it loves one and then another and another and another. Its objects fluent, change. They flow into other forms when it embraces them. In the way that a swimmer in the sea is always swimming in the sea, but the waves change.
Fluent is connected with fluency or?
Yes, flowing. Something that's fluent, it flows. So the forms flow, the forms of life flow, and he says the forms of love flow. Maybe the same eternal love, but you love different, that your love flows to different objects, now one and now another. So their conversation continues, but I think we'll stop there for today. But Savitri replied to mighty death, "My heart is wiser than the reason's thoughts. My heart is stronger than thy bonds, O death. It sees and feels the one heart beat in all. It feels the high transcendent sun-like hands. It sees the cosmic spirit at its work. In the dim night it lies alone with God. My heart's strength can carry the grief of the universe and never falter from its luminous track, its white tremendous orbit through God's peace. It can drink up the sea of all delight and never lose the white spiritual touch, the calm that broods in the deep infinite. He said, "Art thou indeed so strong, O heart, O soul so free? And canst thou gather then bright pleasure from my wayside flowering boughs, yet falter not from thy hard journey's goal. Meet the world's dangerous touch and never fall. Show me thy strength and freedom from my laws. But Savitri answered, surely I shall find among the green and whispering woods of life close-bosomed pleasures, only mine since his, or mine for him, because our joys are one. And if I linger, time is ours and God's, and if I fall, is not his hand near mine? All is a single plan. Each wayside act deepens the soul's response, brings nearer the goal. Death, the contemptuous nihil, answered her. So prove thy absolute force to the wise gods by choosing earthly joy. For self demand, and yet from self and its gross masks live free. Then will I give thee all thy soul desires, all the brief joys earth keeps for mortal hearts. Only the one dearest wish that outweighs all hard laws forbid, and thy ironic fate. My will once wrought remains unchanged through time, and Shraddhavan can never again be thine. But Savitri replied to the vague power, if the eyes of darkness can look straight at truth, look in my heart, and knowing what I am, give what thou wilt, or what thou must, O death. Nothing I claim but Shraddhavan alone. There was a hush as if of doubtful fates, as one disdainful still who yields a point. Death bowed his sovereign head in cold assent. I give to thee, saved from death and poignant fate, whatever once the living Shraddhavan desired in his heart for Savitri. Bright noons I give thee, and unwounded dawns, daughters of thy own shape in heart and mind, fair hero sons, and sweetness undisturbed of union with thy husband dear and true. And thou shalt harvest in thy joyful house felicity of thy surrounded eaves. Love shall bind by thee many gathered hearts. The opposite sweetness in thy days shall meet of tender service to thy life's desired and loving empire over all thy loved, two poles of bliss made one, O Savitri. Return, O child, to thy forsaken earth. But Savitri replied, Thy gifts resist. Earth cannot flower if lonely I return. Then Death sent forth once more his angry cry, as chides a lion his escaping prey. What know'st thou of earth's rich and changing life, who thinks that one man dead, all joy must cease? Hope not to be unhappy till the end, for grief dies soon in the tired human heart. Soon other guests the empty chambers fill. A transient painting on a holiday's floor traced for a moment's beauty love was made. Or if a voyager on the eternal trail, its objects fluent change in its embrace, like waves to a swimmer upon infinite sea.